The components of this design will be protea, leather fern, roses, willow, liatris, anthurium leaves and fishbone fern. Number 6 bowl, ideal Smithers Oasis foam, fully soaked, and a guard attached over the top of the foam. We also have on the bench a box which is going to be folded, brightly coloured cellophane and moss. Guard's been attached, ready to use. Fold the box. Watch the method of folding so that the box is quite firm. Clip that under. Ready to use. This cellophane has actually been placed into the box. You can see the mark on the foam. We place another one over it, and this is going to give a frill effect around the box, which is entirely optional. The number 6 bowl fits perfectly into this box space and allows you just to have a higher and lower frilling of the cellophane. Should any water spill, the cellophane is totally waterproof. In shaping the willow, forks such as the area where we've just removed can look a little unsightly, and it gives a stronger visual movement to have clarity to the shape of the willow. If the willow is green, such as this piece, it means that it is still fresh. The fishbone fern, just remove those tips because they can actually collapse even though the fern is in water. Make sure that you do shape to the natural point. The stem must be clean and cut on an angle for insertion into the foam. This particular design is more modern in its aspect and quite minimalistic in its content. The colour contrast already is extreme but quite interesting. By using the principle of contrast, we're talking about differences or opposites. So from the pink to the purple to the lime green, we have very strong contrasts in colour. Some rose leaves that are a little bit too long are being removed from the stem, and always cut at that very joint section so that a small amount of stem doesn't protrude. Stem cut on a nice sharp angle and inserted towards the back of the foam. The rose has a slight incline towards the back of the bowl. It is not perfectly vertical. And the rose leaves again have been removed so that they're not too wide or falling downwards or out. We're looking at the shape of the natural leaves. Protea, a lot of foliage on the protea. Remember, they don't like air conditioning. If that was the case, you'd need to remove all the foliage. We're cleaning an area for the stem, ready to use, and also looking at the sizes of the blooms. If they are similar in size, then one is just as good as the other. However, if there's a difference in size, smaller will be placed above larger. That anthurium leaf is older. Can you see the lighter colour to the nice dark, rich colour of the one that I'm using? This is one way of identifying the floriculture, the standard, the age of the leaf. So this one is losing its colour, it's older. So normally that leaf wouldn't be used. But it's good for you to be able to see the difference in the colours and the texture, and of course that leaf will last nowhere near as long. The protea are inserted slightly further forward in the foam so that they don't come into play with the rose stems behind. So you're spacing your stems, cutting on a nice sharp angle, spacing them into the foam. A couple of leaves still a little bit untidy to the line of the arrangement. This arrangement is now grouped. The protea are grouped. The roses are going to be grouped in 2 sections. It's the intention of the placement. The anthurium leaves are grouped. Therefore, the colours are occupying separate areas within the design, but they are complementary to the overall design. Watch for any bruised or marked petals on your roses. They should be removed if there are any marks or blemishes. With the liatris, the choice of removing the foliage is your choice. Again, with liatris, it is sensitive to ethylene. Ethylene gas is emitted by fruit and car fumes, and also sensitive to air conditioning. So if you have any doubts, always make sure that you remove that excess foliage. Sometimes too it just gives a cleaner visual line to the placement of the flowers, and these are being placed in a grouped section at the base of the arrangement. Introducing another shade of colour in a grouped area. Leather fern, notice where it is cut at that junction, that fork, and it can also be cut into sections, as I've just done. Depth in the arrangement. That last piece of leather fern is further back than the fishbone fern. This is Design Master Leaf Gloss, very good product, and that's used to shine the leaves, gives a lovely shiny surface area to the leaves. We have the principle of harmony in this design, as well as the principle of contrast, and we've also used the elements of form, being the shapes of the flowers and foliages, the different textures, the usage of colour, and the final element, the usage of space. Now, space is one of the key elements that has been used in this design, and you will see the distance between the roses when you have a full view of the arrangement to see how well space has been used. That was a 0.71 gauge wire which has been placed into a hairpin, and that just goes through the moss to hold it in place. See the moss there from the back of the arrangement. Moss is an excellent filler and gives an excellent texture within the design. Any little spots, there's a little hole there. In goes the moss, just as an extra cover. We shouldn't see the foam, but you should allow for watering. There's the hairpin shape, ready to go through the moss. Always clean off any little sections. The moss can drop little parts, so be careful of that. Spraying is always optional, but it always looks lovely on the surface area of the flowers. This design is minimalistic in its content as mentioned, and therefore it is quite economical as a strong visual product. The little pieces of willow have a lot of rhythm, a lot of movement because of their curved shape. Just adds another texture to the design. So we're really using those elements within this arrangement. Always turn, look at all different angles. The moss is almost a plateau area. You completed design, flaring forward, lovely groupings and great colours. Looking at the design from the front view, we have the roses, top two grouped together. Flow down with the fishbone fern. To the left you have the second grouping of roses. And then to balance we come across to the weight of the proteas, third grouping. The fishbone is actually also grouped. Come down and flow forward to the anthurium leaf. And the final grouping to balance is the liatris.